everybody that's listening to this is a brand new author with one children's book. When you create a high quality book that is in tune with your market and your perfect reader, yes, I'm sure that there's some good luck that goes into that as well. But can you imagine being able to be here a year from now and saying the same thing, that you are bringing home a couple of $1,000 a month just from one book? That's just amazing. Brie is a therapist. She has had a thriving career and has also just had some pretty amazing success with her book that has really inspired a lot of people. So today's session really is just geared to hanging out. We're going to talk a little bit about Brie's experience, what has worked well, some of the things that the challenges she went through, and how she overcame that moving forward.
Thanks, April. Yeah, so as April stated, I'm Dr. Brie Turns. I'm an assistant professor in Arizona for marriage and family therapy program. And so I also have a private practice on the side. And yeah, I came to April's group. When was it? 2019? Just on a whim, because I was like, well, let's write a children's book. This sounds fun. I was referred to April from 2 or 3 people who had gone through, I think, like a beta launch that April had. So yeah, I think I was in like maybe your second group. And I started it. And with the help of April and Bobby, all of a sudden we have 7,000 copies sold. It's in a few different Barnes and Nobles right now. And my significant other actually plays golf and is good friends with one of the territory managers or one of the big people over Nevada and Arizona's Barnes and Nobles. And so he's about to launch it into all those Barnes and Nobles. So yeah, I mean, it's been a really fun adventure. I'm excited to write my second children's book. This is technically my second book in general. I write textbooks. So this was a really fun project, and it was very different than working with a publisher than anything else I could have ever done.
Tell us a little bit about where the idea for the book came from and what inspired you to write this, because you didn't have any children of your own at the time, right?
No, and I still don't. Not yet. Too busy producing books. So no children of my own, but I have an adorable nephew and now a niece who's 5 weeks old. But it's really funny, April. It came to me as I was cleaning. And I thought about like the phrase, like, oh, I'll always love you. And I actually just pulled up Bobby's letter that she had sent me, the critique. And originally the book, I envisioned it as being the letters, a capital I and a little u. And after receiving Bobby's feedback, she, of course, was so gracious in her feedback. But it was, hey, this took me a couple reads to really understand what was going on. I don't think it's going to connect with your audience as much as it could if it was an illustration of a mom and a baby. But then if there's different genders and things like that. So I recommend animals. And that's what Bobby said. So I was like, okay, well, let's see kind of where we go with animals, which was the best advice I had received. Without Bobby's help, I think the book would have sold like 2 copies because my original idea wasn't that good.
Tell us a little bit about how you came to find your illustrator and settle on the giraffes with everything, because we went back and forth, if I remember correctly, with lions, and there were a bunch of different things that we kind of worked through.
Oh, yes, that was a painful process. You know, after I realized how right Bobby was, it was, okay, now I need to pick like the perfect animal that most moms would relate to. You kind of figure most moms, most women end up buying children's books. So I honestly just Googled, I think I typed in like graphic mother and baby animals. And that image of Lisa's illustration was one of the first ones that popped up. So Lisa lives in Oregon and she does paintings. She had never done a children's book before. She had done I think a textbook. So I contacted her and said, I love your giraffes. Would you consider illustrating my book for me? I think they're absolutely perfect. This one picture that I found of this mom and baby giraffe, I want to use as the front cover. How can we do this? And luckily she agreed. And with the guidance of April, we did have a few hiccups along the way. Certain things looked a little off. We had to tweak some of the story to make it fit with the giraffes and make it feel like realistic. But Lisa was very flexible in the process because it was her first time. It was my first time. And I'm really grateful that we had April there as a mediator. It kind of felt like I could throw April under the bus and be like, well, April's not a big fan of this, so let's change it. And she totally didn't mind.
When we started with the giraffes, photographs. If I remember correctly, what you found online, she was selling these prints, right? She was
Mhm.
actually profiting from these images that people were hanging in their children's room. And we also kind of took a while for us to negotiate a contract with her because I was always pushing and wanting my authors to be protected and do like work for hire, not have to pay royalties. And we went really back and forth with her for a while that she didn't want to go in that direction. But the give and take was there. We gave her the opportunity, if I remember correctly, to then go in and basically any of the prints that are created for the book were all hers to share and profit from. But you owned the copyright for the work around the book. You didn't have to pay royalties to anyone else for the book. And that I think was a really huge accomplishment.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Having to figure out the royalties, I think would have sent me over the edge. I have two full-time jobs. I just like pulling in money from the book. I don't really like having to figure out numbers and math. And since then, actually, Lisa has to contact me because it's through my Amazon account to order copies at my rate. And she contacts me pretty frequently, probably once every 3 months, and orders hundreds of books at a time in paperback. And then the art shows that she goes to, she sells out of those books because she's
Wow.
selling them with some of the prints that she has from the book. And she also has them on like baby onesies, gift cards. I mean, she has sent me quite a few different things that she has used for those prints that she's been able to make money off of that I don't make money off of, which is completely fine.
That's kind of the agreement we came up with, especially because a lot of the things that you use in the book were already her creations that
Mhm.
she did have copyrights for, she did have the ownership for. So we were able to kind of go back and forth and negotiate that in a way that was win-win for everybody.
Yeah, it was really great. And honestly, April, without your help in navigating that contract and, finding these tiny little loopholes of, here's how she can continue to make money off of the book. Again, I think I would have dug myself into a hole because I don't like confrontation.
I remember saying to you, just blame me, or let's tell her that your project manager wants to go over the contract and talk about it with her. It's funny because I'm still doing that today. Like, hey guys, if you don't want to have this uncomfortable conversation with your illustrator, tell her or him I'm your project manager. We'll get together. We'll go through it. I'll explain the whole thing. And we're able to come up with something that really made this profitable for both of you. And wow, this has been really successful. Have you done any kind of events or any kind of marketing other than just putting it as a print on demand book?
Yeah. So because of COVID, a lot of places are still not doing author signings. I mean, Barnes and Noble have kind of cut them off indefinitely, but it just got into Barnes and Noble. It took a while to do that, but it got in there about 2 weeks ago into my local Barnes and Noble. I went in there, signed a few copies. They put it on their social media page. And fun fact, as soon as you get into one Barnes and Noble, you just call the other Barnes and Nobles nearby and you say, "Hey, I'm a local author. This Barnes and Noble carries my book. Can you order it too?" And they're like, "Oh, sure, not a problem at all." And I was like, "Oh, that was a lot simpler than what I thought it was."
The other thing about your book that I think makes it really attractive to Barnes and Noble is when they see the number of copies that it's already selling. They see the ranking and really, all of those sales or many of those sales are coming from hardcovers through Ingram Spark. So I don't know if Ingram Spark makes them aware of the fact that this book is really selling well, but I'm certain that certainly couldn't have hurt your chances of getting not only into the one near you, but more broadly throughout Barnes and Noble as well.
Yeah, and that's kind of what took a little bit for Barnes and Noble to pick it up was they wanted to see that people were rating it favorably. And I think we have about 320 the last time I saw it on Amazon reviews, and it's at like a 4.8. The few people who dock it 1 star, I think are just trolls. I think that's what they're called. I try not to take it personally. But yeah, once Barnes and Noble saw like, hey, it is selling, it's not just going to sit on our shelves, then they were willing to take the risk. And I just found out that the 3 books they ordered sold out in 2 weeks. And so they just ordered another batch of them.
Let's talk a little bit about during your process of putting this together. What do you remember most as, being the challenge for you to kind of walk through your author journey and how did you overcome those things?
Oh, that's a great question. To be honest, I think it was confidence. I think, April, I remember telling you, like, well, if it only sells 2 copies, I guess that's okay. And I was so fearful of, I'm going to dump between five to $7,000 creating this book because I bought these beautiful illustrations, and I was really fearful of putting this really big investment of time and money into this project and having it completely flop. But then I figured, well, over time, ideally it breaks even. I didn't think it would break even in 6 months by any stretch of the imagination. And even now with Amazon, with my publishing, my bring home from the book is usually between 2 to 3,000 a month. And I don't know why it's popular. My mom asks every now and again, like, hey, how's it going? And over the past few months, all of a sudden see an order of 500 hardback copies being ordered through Ingram Spark. I'm assuming by one person. And I'm like, I don't know who these people are. I'd love to write them a thank you note. I don't know why it's popular. Aside from the really cute giraffes, I don't have a clue as to why it's selling the way that it is. I wish I had an explanation.
So tell us, what is your next children's book going to be about?
Oh, so I technically have a book contract right now. It's actually with a company, but it's not a children's book. And so I'm locked into a contract. So my parenting book is coming out it's due back to the publisher March 15th of next year. And that's called Parent the Child You Have, Not the Child You Were. And so it really focuses on how do you not see your child as a reflection of yourself, and how do you let them be their own little person? Because that's what I do for a living. And so after that book is done, what I'm really hoping to go into is that series, April, that you and I talked about, is the Whatever You Do series.
That is going to be amazing. I have long thought about, I wish I could get Brie back to move on that, because that idea is amazing. I don't have to give it away, but there's going to be a lot of really cool things that come out of that series that I think will make it very popular.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that it'll launch off so you and Bobby cannot go anywhere. Please don't. Don't leave.
When I see I Will Always Love You, it brings me to those classics, Oh, the Places You'll Go, because it's one of those books that you can gift to a new mom. You can gift it as a baby gift for like baptism or, the baby's first birthday. It's a children's book that children will love, especially if they love giraffes and the African plain and all of the different things that are there. It's also a wonderful graduation gift, right? So somebody that's flying the nest and you give them I Will Always Love You. And that message resonates with that individual, that child that's leaving home. I've seen so many people who have a story to tell, and it's their personal story, and they make it their own personal story as an homage. And I've done that with mine, but it doesn't have that broader appeal of, well, wait a minute, how can we make this really fit anybody's story so that it can be that gift book that they, buy 6 copies of because they've got children and they've got, a graduation coming and a new baby and a baby shower coming up. So that, I think, goes such a long way in why it became such a popular book for others. Tiffany's asking, Brie, did you publish with both Amazon and Ingram Spark?
So we did the paperback and the ebook through Amazon, and then Ingram Spark is who we went through for the hardback, which I didn't know this going through the process, that when it goes through Ingram Spark, and April, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how it got linked up to Barnes and Noble, and that's how it got linked up to all of these big distributors. I think it's on Walmart's website too, because it went through Ingram Spark. And I didn't know that that was an added benefit of doing that. So thanks, April, for that. One thing I didn't realize, because we'd already mentioned it, like I don't have my own children yet. I did dedicate the book to my nephew because he's adorable, but he's 2 and he's very rambunctious and doesn't sit long enough for a book. But a friend of mine FaceTimed me, and she has a 3-year-old who loves books. And I sent him a signed copy of the book, sent him a cute little message in there. And apparently it's his go-to book. So about last week, she FaceTimed me randomly and I answer it and she's sitting there and her little boy Jack is in pajamas and they're reading the book. And he looks at me and he's like, "Thank you so much for the book. I love it." And I just started sobbing. And I was like, "What's happening to me?" And it was the first time I had connected a child learning about the concept of love and protection and being comforted by a parent and seeing it actually happen. I hadn't made those connections before. I'm not sure why. As a therapist, I know that so many kids aren't told those messages, but I hadn't been able to see it before. And so it's not even just like, hey, I have this nice supplemental income. It's that thousands upon thousands of children are being read like, hey, I'm always going to love you and I'm always going to protect you no matter what life throws your way. And so going back to the message, I think, yeah, if the message is really good in your book, just makes it that much better.
That's a wonderful story. I love that. Kathy posted a question. Where are you marketing the book? 500 to 800 a month is minimal on Amazon. Is that what you're doing minimally?
So I was doing 500 a month minimally, and I just upped my monthly budget to 800. And to be honest with you, this is going to sound terrible. I don't know very much about my marketing. April was the genius who went in there and started different, what are they even called?
Yeah, the ads, the keywords, and all of that. Yep.
Yeah. So there are like 5 or 6 different types of advertisements that are on Amazon, and collectively altogether, I'll spend $800 on that. But I don't know how to make it. I paid April to help me with all of it because I just didn't know what to do. And clearly, she knows exactly what she's doing, or else I think I probably would have sold 10 books. But it pops up even when you type in "love you children's books," it's automatically one of the top books that pops up now.
And the funny thing is, we set those ads up over a year ago and have not touched them since. And that's not the best practice, Brie. I think if we were to invest a little time and really grow that you could very easily see exponential growth in your sales, especially by adding some new ads. Just thinking at the time, I was pulling ads on gift books. Now, how many more gift books have been added to Amazon since I first did the ad a year ago, right? There's lots of lessons along the way and new gift books to target and things of that nature. So when you're ready to do that, you let me know and we'll jump in there and we'll take care of it. But that's all I did was my standard, just the research around it and spending that time to analyze, set up those ads. At the time, I remember Brie being a little bit nervous. Again, as all new authors are, she had that fear of, is my book going to sell? And as we're setting up ads, is this going to cost me a lot of money? That, because she had already invested, was it $7,000 or so in the illustrations and just getting the book created? She was nervous about having Amazon taking more money. So we limited that with a portfolio. We set that up together. And I think it took me a little bit of talking her into the 500 a month as we set it up. And I think we started at 100. And I said, Brie, I think you need to push it more because it was consistently delivering at that $100. And I was like, if you can bite the bullet, even if you just have to have, a credit card that will cover the 500, your sales will come back and more than cover the price of that. So at this point, I would probably be, tripling that and really just going all in with some fresh ads if I was going to, provide some additional advice for you, Brie.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. And I'll definitely book some time with you. And I do remember, being terrified because I was like, $500, April. My goodness, I'm a professor. I'm not a Rockefeller. And there has not been one month where it didn't surpass the advertisements. And you don't have to spend that much on advertising. We kind of experimented with it. And I figured, hey, if I am consistently pulling in money at $500 during November is when I think I upped it to 800, especially over the holidays. Mm-hmm. And ever since then, I've been making double what I was making. So again, I'm not sure what the minimum.
Yeah, there's no minimum. It's a good thing to just budget for it so that when you release your book, you have a budget for that, the same way that you budget for your illustrator and your editor and all those other things. Because the worst thing is to have a book released and then, you don't have a plan for how am I going to market it. So because Brie was such a busy professional and I knew she wasn't going to be going out, actively promoting her book, Amazon ads was the best thing that we could do together to get more eyes on her book. And it worked out really, really well. So Kathy's asking, where do you order hard copies from? At this point, you're not doing bulk copies of these, right? You're still just sticking with print on demand at this point, right?
Yeah, I haven't even considered, printing them in bulk because I'm so busy. I mean, I've got a stack of paperback books. I think I've got 10 of them left, and I just give them to some people because they cost me $3.50. Or if I get a friend of mine who says, "Hey, can you mail it to me?" then I charge them for that. But again, I'm too fearful of investing all of that money because once COVID hit, I couldn't do events. Once I start going to events, and I do a lot of speaking conferences just through my profession, I'll probably bring 4 or 5 copies with me just for fellow therapists to have in their offices. But yeah, everything's print on demand through Ingram Spark, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, are the big ones.
Congratulations on your success. It's very inspiring. But I was listening to the part where you were giving books or on consignment to the friend who was at the book art fairs and selling prints as well as the books. That intrigued me because I'm an illustrator, but I haven't tried that yet. So in your case, the illustrator is not involved in that. You're just selling the prints yourself, right?
No. So in our contract, I don't have the capability of selling Lisa's prints at all. I don't touch her prints because she has had that business for over 30 years. I would never take from her pot. So what she does is when she goes to art shows to sell the prints that she has, and I have one I can grab it and show you. I have ordered her books at my cost through my Amazon account. I ship them to her and she can then sell them for whatever she wants to sell them for along with her print. And it was built in our contract that she can order books indefinitely at my cost, which I think is what, $3.50 a book on Amazon. And so that's what she does. And like I said, she makes quite a bit of money being able to do that. So this is one of them that she sent me as a gift. I do plan to eventually frame it when I have children, but she sells these. I mean, I think $30-$40, and sometimes she'll pair them with books and sell them at her shows. And this wasn't even an illustration that she had before the book. This is an illustration that's in the book that I said, hey, take those illustrations and go make more money off of them. And that's what she's been doing. I do think that because Lisa and I did it differently, she started as an artist who became an illustrator rather than being an illustrator and staying an illustrator. And so I think that's kind of where, Lisa took a leap of faith and said, hey, let's give this a shot. And so it's been really successful on her end too.
Chris is asking, can you talk about your launch process? Once the book was completed, what came next for you?
So April had a lot of connections with other authors who would do like giveaways. You also have the ability of doing free ebook giveaways on Amazon. I can't remember. I want to say it's 3 or 5 days per month or per 6 months. I can't remember. But April was able to design and figure out all of that marketing for me because I didn't know what to do and I didn't have any of those connections with people. And so she got me teamed up with other authors who had gone through her group, and we would do big giveaways of all of our books through Facebook, Instagram, and I'm still contacted by other random authors who are like, hey, do you want to do a giveaway? And I say, hey, sure, that's fine. But a lot of it was through April and the connections that she had. So we gave away a ton of free Amazon books or Amazon ebooks, which didn't impact me at all. But I think that really helped get my book out there because then people were like, well, I want a hard copy. I don't want to just flip through this on a Kindle. I want the pictures.
I have that posed a lot by authors. Like, why should I give my book away as a free ebook? I mean, shouldn't people pay for it? And, is giving away my ebook going to impact my sales? I always say you're using that ebook as a promotional opportunity to put your beautiful words and images in front of more people. And your book is as good, it's a high quality book, then all it's going to do is open the door for more sales. I, as a grandmother, know that when I download ebooks. Like when I get a bunch of free ebooks out there, I might not have purchased the book, but then I notice somebody is doing a free ebook promotion and I'll go, oh, that's kind of cute. Let me take a look at that. And I'll download it, I'll read it, perhaps decide to read it with my grandkids. And then it's a really good book. I have to have one. It's children's books. You want to have a physical copy. Now, maybe that changes as your age group changes with children who are reading themselves, chapter books, things like that, novels. But for me, I have found that as a grandmother, I'm usually not buying a book unless there's rave reviews or I've already seen it on an ebook and decided that it's a perfect fit for my grandkids. I think, Brie, you did do a marketing kit though, right? A press kit?
That sounds very familiar. I think I did one and might have distributed it to all of 4 people. I should probably go back to that because I remember it being really cute. And I just made it on Canva and I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, and again, I didn't do very much marketing or outreach because one, COVID hit and everything shut down. It was like, well, bookstores are closed. So I'm just going to sit here and hang out. And my focus had to go to my private practice. I was seeing about 7 clients a week and it tripled. And so there are some days where I don't even check my book for weeks because it's just on autopilot right now because I've got so many other things that I have to manage on a daily basis, which is why I'm so grateful that April set everything up for me.
It doesn't always work that way, but this is really, a great success story. And I think there's lots of more opportunity here with this book. I see that for you're selling between 600 and 800 books a month, plus whatever your Illustrator is selling. And I know that just scratches the surface of what you could do by bumping up more ads, or as your schedule clears, put some pitches together and do more contacting of places that maybe sell baby products. Or if you really decided you wanted to market this, the success that you've already seen would definitely mushroom for more. Those kinds of things, some people want to do that. And then there are other people that are like, I'm perfectly happy not sucking more time out of my schedule and just letting this continue to move forward and grow organic. So there's always room for improvement, and not everybody gets this kind of success with this little effort. But I think that the testament for this is the nature of the book, the quality of the book, and that it was able to just hit that perfect point in the market in so many different niches and is being used in so many different ways as a gift book, that I think that really provides a lot of additional sales that might not have come otherwise.
I see your book is selling for $16.99. And I also see that you somehow got your book on Barnes and Nobles. What was your wholesale discount? Because I've heard in order to get my book from Ingram Spark or Amazon into a bookstore, I would have to give at least a 50 or 55% discount. And if I sell my book for $16.99, I would be in minus. I would not make any money. So did you only give 30% or how did you do that?
That's a good question. Because I went through Ingram Spark for my hardback, that linked up to Barnes & Noble's website. Once Barnes & Noble carries it on their website, they can order it in store at their manufacturer cost, and I don't lose anything. So I didn't split a cost. I didn't give it any type of discount. That was all handled on the back end. And so when Barnes & Noble re-ups it, they order through Ingram Spark. I don't even know if it's Barnes & Noble ordering it. It would just be like if somebody ordered a hardback on Amazon. So I don't know who gave you that input, but I didn't lose any money going through Barnes & Noble. Yeah.
I can comment on, because I helped with the setup of that Ingram Spark, and I know exactly what you mean, that when you're setting up Ingram Spark, you can set it up at 30% up to 55% discount. And that's the discount that's offered to people that your book is being distributed to. So bookstores, Barnes & Noble, and others. And you will be surprised to hear that Brie is making all this money with the 30 to 35%, the bare minimum discount to those folks that are Barnes & Noble and others. They're buying it at the minimum discount. We do not provide the maximum 55% discount, because if we were to do that, my thought and my experience with this is it's going to be pennies that she's going to be making for each book. And that is just not going to be profitable. Or we would have to put the price up so high that the sales would go way down. And who's going to buy something for 23 or 25 or more just to get a hardcover? So I just set it up at the bare minimum, and her books are a testament to how well that can work. But the real key to this is how desirable is the book. I think that Brie has, perfect market for her book. I don't think it works for everybody. I do have some authors, I'll be completely honest with you, that I set up the 30% and the 35%, and I check every month as I meet with the authors, and they'll sell 2 copies, 3 copies, not a lot, because it hasn't caught the fire that Bree's has. And there is a market for certain types of books that Ingram Spark will do really well with. There's a market for, the types of books maybe that sell better at fairs and things like that. And so you don't know whether what you're doing is going to really work until you try it. I just try different things and be smart about your research about what you think might work. Take a look and really research your niche, sell yourself, get yourself out there and do your best to give your book the best chance possible. But not everybody is going to get the same kind of success from the same efforts. I really wish it was a, lather, rinse, repeat kind of a thing, but it's not. It's not for every book. And we are just going to do the best we can to put out what we think is its best option, and then reworking and rethinking, trying and being that investigator and trying just different things until we get something that does work. This has been just an amazing opportunity. So much fun hanging out with you. So thank you for taking time out of your busy day and giving us a little peek into what can happen when we take a chance and put a really beautiful book on. Right, guys? Thank you, everyone.